Hello, I'm PXTreaker and welcome back to episode of my Minecraft Xbox Update Adventures Let's Play. This is the Let's Play where I'm playing through the various updates that have come out for Minecraft on the Bedrock version, building stuff, killing stuff, and of course, destroying stuff. And in today's episode, let's do something really satisfying first of all. Let's break this block of sand and cause all of this to fall. Ooh, isn't that a good thing to see? But no, in today's episode, I have something kind of fun I wanted to work on because you might be aware of my big survival project I'm working on right now, one of the biggest I've ever worked on, which is destroying an entire nether fortress and then putting it back together in a slightly different format in the overworld, or recycling a nether fortress as you might know it. So I've now finished the destruction as of last Thursday. It was a big marathon stream. We got it done though, and now we can start working on the second half of this, which is to take all of this nether brick block, and believe me, there is a lot of it, as well as some nether fences and some nether stairs. We're going to take all of these blocks and we're going to start building something like a nether fortress. I don't want to call it directly a nether fortress because I don't think that'll be perfectly accurate, but I'm going to build something that's kind of nether fortressy to connect up all these islands over here, because the islands are kind of worthless otherwise, and I think it'd be kind of fun to make a nether fortress from scratch that uses this as like a one, it just looks cool from the outside, that's one of the goals, but two, it's a cool way to get around these islands and maybe bring connectivity from things like the turtle farm and things like the giant railway over to the ocean one, and things like that, things of that nature. I think it'd be kind of fun. That's what we're doing in today's video, and I hope you all are looking forward to it and or that you enjoy it. So yeah, one of the things I always try to do when I'm working on builds is to work with the environment rather than against it. So for example, right here you can see it's a little bit of a hill over here, but I think the smartest place to start this is about halfway down the hill. One of the mistakes that is really easy to make in Minecraft is being like, oh, we'll start at the top of the hill, but then if you need to dig into the ground, which you might need to do for various reasons, it's really tricky to later undo that. So yeah, you start working and then we can obviously go down if we need to, make like a support for instance, like, oh, look at that, now we can have it be up here as well. But then it also means that if we want to start working, we've got a flat surface to do so, right as you can see right here. It's very handy because that's how most people build. So with that said, we're going to be starting with a kind of because most of it's going to look like a nether fortress, but I want to have one like big statement piece, if that's a word you don't mind me using, because I want to have I do want to have something that kind of shows off that, like, yeah, this is more than just a nether fortress in the overworld. This is a nether fortress recycled in the overworld, which, recycling is cool, right? Everyone gets hyped when they hear the word recycling. But yeah, no, it's a thing I want to do, which is why I'm going to have kind of a castle-y look on the front. Again, nether fortress, but it's a castle, a nether castle, if you will, maybe, if that's a term we can use. But yeah, it's a thing we've got to start with, and what we're going to start with just right here. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's always important when you're starting a brand new build, like we're doing today, to make sure that you get things like the number of blocks right. Again, the number of times I've made a mistake and been like, well, now we have to destroy literally half of this and start again. No one wants to be in that situation, so pro tip, just don't be in that situation. And then we do the same over here. We have a little bit of an outside wall over here, like we're gonna have, and then again we can work out the ending shape later. For now we're just focusing on the front of this, and as you can see right now it looks really rough. You're like, Toycat, you said you're starting a brand new big project, or you're starting the second half of a big project, but this doesn't look like anything. But again, it's a good start from which we can build onto. So first of all, I would say bridging over this gap is going to be important. So because again, having sand visible, it's never going to look great. So we take this and we kind of spread it all around here to have a flat surface on which to base on. We can make it less flat ourselves if we want to, but the goal is to follow the the biome at least a little bit, but not entirely, not explicitly. One of the things that I feel like is often made a mistake, one of the biggest magnets for mistakes in Minecraft is when you have a like a big build and you ignore the environment or you focus entirely on the environment. There's kind of a middle ground between those two things. Well, that was unexpected. The good news, though, is that because we're in a desert, we can just destroy the dead bushes around here, get 2 sticks that way, because it used to be before they updated that. Rather, it's one of those handy changes you never appreciate till you think about it, but now it means that you can get 2 sticks and you can make another shovel or something like that without having to go all the way to, say, your nearest forest biome to do it like that. So now we can make an iron shovel, and we'll use that for the rest of the video. We'll pretend that didn't happen. I swear, this never happens, usually. But yeah, a common problem that I see is when people don't work into the environment, and it's a real shame because, in the natural world, you need to have supports and things like that, and that can actually be a really fun part of your build if you're good at building them. I'm going to admit that I totally am not, that, but even just doing something basic like, okay, we'll just have a little bit of a stand over here, kind of like how the nether fortress does that, where it tapers out and it kind of curves in. Just having something as basic as this can, it can add something to that and make it look like, yeah, this raised platform, it's raised deliberately because it's a nether in the overworld. Overworld. You know, it adds even a cool factor if you can do it right, and you know, I hope that we can do at least something towards that today. And yeah, it's a little bit of a pro tip for you right there. But today's episode is not all about building. As you all do know, these episodes of the Let's Play, although they are a good way to show you what's going on in the Let's Play in any given, you know, week of time, it's also, you know, like a kind of once a week, what's going on with Toy Cat kind of thing. Because a lot of people, you know, ask for vlogs or updates or everything about life, and I feel like it's kind of fun to mix it in with like, so what's going on with Minecraft? Well, this is one of the big things that you might care about on this channel, and one of the other big things you might care about is like, so what's been going on with you, Toy Cat? And in short, the biggest thing that like, because I've been kind of enjoying summer, with enjoying in big air quotes, because again, if you enjoy summer, then I think you're a sociopath. Like, you know, it's just hot every day. It's just unpleasant every day. But some people, you know, like it makes me feel lazy, which is probably a good thing if I wanted to be lazy. But you know, there are things I've got to do. There are nether fortresses I have to destroy, which I guess it makes sense because they're in a really hot place. But you know, like anyway, heat is not a thing that I personally enjoy. And so it's pretty unrelatable for me when people are like, oh yeah, can't wait for the summer, gonna get a tan this, tan that. It's like, so you want the sun to burn you so bad that you change color? That's a desirable thing? In what world is this? Who said this is the standard? You know, like if there was a thing that's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna self-harm because it's really cool to have scars on your wrists. Yeah, you'd look at those people and say, no, doesn't make that a cool thing. But one of the acceptable things is like, you know, heating yourself up, and because that's been a little bit unpleasant. But the bigger thing in my life, besides just heat, which I can complain about forever. I've said this before, but I'm pretty much I'm a big fan of neutral temperatures. Anywhere between 10 or you know, like let's even say 5 degrees Celsius and like 25 degrees Celsius. I'm okay enough. Anything above that is literally kill me now. Literally, you know, why even bother living anymore? And that might sound a bit extreme, but it's where I line up. It's my opinion. That's fine. But yeah, one of the things interesting that's happened besides all of that, because you know my opinions on heat are fine and all, but it's not really news. It's not really something changing. It's just me, you know, coming to accept that summer gets hotter as it goes along rather than colder. But yeah, so one of the things, also let's just throw a random little fence on here. We're trying to add some small details here to make it not look like just a normal castle, look like a special castle of some form. But yeah, so one of the other things that happened this week is I got in contact with let's call him a long lost relative, like a cousin of mine that I haven't spoken to in literally 10 years. Maybe more, maybe less, like somewhere in that ballpark, you know. When it's roughly 10 years, doesn't matter if it's 8.5 or 11 years, a long time, you know. Like if you haven't spoken to a friend in 10 years, then what do you really have in common with that friend anymore, you know? And in the same way, it's like, wow, yeah, this is someone who I am related to, but also at the same time, it's like, man, that relation is kind of weird and out there. And in that time, you know, like in the last 10 years, you know, we used to be the same age, so she was like just starting to become a teenager like myself at the time. She has now got a child going on, and that's a really interesting dynamic change. By the way, do you like my little windows? I kind of like them. I think they add a little bit of, again, fortressy vibes to this. And if we probably, you know, back up the back behind it, I think it'll add an even better thing if we duplicate it as well. Again, the goal here is to have just a big, intimidating fortress front. But yeah, it's really interesting because this is someone that used to live on the opposite side of the country to me, which, fun fact, I know people who live in anywhere that's not Europe like to laugh at the fact that, like, a long drive here is, like, 4 or 5 hours, but it was, like, you know, 4.5 hours, I think it was close to 6 after stops and stuff, but it was, like, 6 hours journey there and back. It was, like, a big once every couple years kind of thing, and now they live, like, kind of nearby, and it was like, oh, you know, there's a person that I used to know that I now kind of know. Let's try and do the nice, you know, family thing, which I'm not very good at doing usually, so I was like, okay, we're going to try extra hard to do it this time. I'm going to try and, you know, say, hey, let's meet up and let's do a thing. But here's where the dynamic changes, right? Here's where everything becomes strange and different, because there is now, like, a child involved, which I guess is technically a relative of mine, right? Like, a cousin once removed, maybe? But, you know, like, now that there's, like, a child involved, the question doesn't become like, oh, yeah, let's meet up and let's do a thing. Because I said something along the lines of, like, oh, hey, wow, you live near me. I've always been curious about that place you live. Oh, maybe if you live there, it would be cool if I checked it out at the same time. Did the usual, like, hey, here's an excuse for us to meet up if you would like that kind of thing. And, yeah, what was really interesting is, like, the immediate response was like, oh, yeah, it'll be really great for you to meet this new baby thing that is involved in my life. And it's weird because I was thinking about it and, like, is there any other hobby that you can pick up where you can be like, oh yeah, everyone in my life needs to know about this. There's no opting out for this. You know, I wasn't able to say, like, oh yeah, wouldn't it be cool if, like, you know, we met you first before your new hobby or whatever. And it's, again, it's, like, super impolite of a gesture for me to even say anything like that. And I was just thinking about it, and, like, it's a very strange dynamic, right? It's a forced relation or a forced new part of the dynamic, and it made me kind of interested because, like, obviously, one of the things about becoming a mother is that it takes up a lot of your time and a lot of your life, and like you maybe you don't realize that like everyone else isn't just as hyped as you about a thing, but everyone has to pretend like they are, and I don't know how to deal with that one yet, like, because my attitude in so much of life, I've said this before, and this is maybe controversial, but I try to be honest as much as I can, because you know what, when it comes to life, when it comes to all these different things, why not try and be honest? Because the truth holds so much more than lies. Like, a lot of people just want to hear the truth, but don't realize that, like, a lot of people are lied to by everyone in their life. A bit of honesty goes a long way or something. It's always been my rough dynamic. But when it comes to, like, oh yeah, there is literally, like a person here, you can't be honest and be like, well, I was kind of excited to meet you, and, like, adding the fact that, like, saying that would be an awkward dynamic, you don't get to say that. So instead you go, yeah, it'll be super exciting. I love meeting children, especially when they're young and they don't have thoughts and opinions. They're just, like bags of needs. That's my favorite thing. It's like literally if I was like, so I've got an ocelot and the ocelot needs to be fed meat every 2 hours, or it starts lashing out and it might kill someone in the vicinity. It won't kill us because we're good, but like it'll annoy everyone in the area. But like if you ignore the fact that, then it'd be really great if I brought my ocelot with me and they say, actually, I don't think I'd like you to bring an ocelot with you, and they'd be like, oh, are you shaming me because I'm a new ocelot? Ocelot baby, ocelot. I'm not sure what you'd even call that, but like, are you shaming me for that? And it's like, oh yeah, I don't even know how to deal with it. So yeah, that's the latest conundrum in my life, and it got me thinking because, again, the fact that if I hadn't met someone for 10 years, that relationship is pretty much dead. It's been half my life. We could probably begin to revive it, but it would take a really long time. But with family, there's this expectation that no matter how long you've left something, you can always just go back and pick it up later, right? That's, it's like a game of Minecraft. No matter how long you've left it for, it'll be exactly the same when you've last left it. That's the expectation. I mean, whether it matches the reality is something you can decide for yourself. But yeah, it's really, really interesting because like with family members in that way are kind of like non-optional relationships. Like they're mandatory to some degree, and obviously there are ways to remove these. And a lot of this is why it sucks. Like having people in your life who you're forced to interact with sounds like a really good thing on paper until the practicalities come in of like, oh yeah, and then you get some people who have abusive parents that ruin their entire lives, and so many people who have like just kind of bad parents are like, oh, you just gotta deal with it, like it's family, blood is thicker than water. People tell you no matter like what your situation is that like, oh yeah, but you can't abandon them, like you couldn't go through that, you are related to them after all, and therefore you are honor bound to never, damage or alter this in any way. It's pretty interesting that like that, again, that's what these relationships are. They're non-optional relationships in your life, and I think to some degree it's good, but then there's a lot of situations where it can go south, and yeah, it made me start wondering like, so many. The reason on paper it sounds really weird that like, oh yeah, so there's this like there's this girl who is a single mother who I otherwise would not know about because she lives quite far away from me actually. Like it's close compared to 6 hours away, but it's far away compared to 3 hours. But like oh yeah, now we have a bond. Same with like, oh yeah, there's a 70-year-old man who comes to my house every now and then and helps me with some, like if I have issues with my doorbell, he helps me on my heating. That's my grandfather. Would be weird if it wasn't my grandfather though, right? Like it'd be weird if I just had a 70-year-old friend that came to my house from time to time. And yeah, it's a weird. That's what family relationships are. They're these weird kind of obligated things, and on paper they sound like just terrible. Like, oh, so you're forced to like these people even if they're literal narcissists or they steal from you or this or that. Like there are so many cases of like, oh yeah, well I mean he did this terrible thing, but he is my brother or he is my thing. I've always had the opinion that like, just because you're forced into this, it doesn't mean that they can't harm the relationship. It doesn't mean that they can't irreparably damage the relationship. Like I would say, when my parents first stole from me, it happened once in my life. Like I would say I'm mostly over it now, but I'm still to this day like very cautious around. In case you're curious, it was finances. Like there's a whole story behind that. But like the first time it happened, I was like, man, yeah, like just because you don't get to say, oh no, it's okay because we're related. No. Theft is still theft, and I can't prosecute you or try in any real way. And like I can't force you to make this better. But you really like, but that it's a scar on the relationship. I think that, relationships should have scars, and it's fine to, you can heal the damage eventually, but the fact that they're forced in there is always weird to me. And yeah, honestly, the only thing that makes me, like, not be one of those people who's like, oh yeah, you can dump your family anytime, every time, or whatever people say. The only thing that makes me not, like, an advocate for that is that, like, people are really bad at picking friends as well. Like, when we have optional relationships, which is what every friend is, right? People are really bad at picking those. People, I'm not saying you or I'm not saying me. Actually, let's say me. It's more fun that way. Like, sure. If I was, if there was some way, like, a Tinder for friends or whatever, there is probably a better set of friends to match with me than the current set of friends that I have. But that doesn't mean, that doesn't necessarily mean, I should say, but that doesn't necessarily mean that, like, oh yeah, I have bad friends. Because, the value for a relationship is not just in its objective, like, oh yeah, this or that. Sometimes a bad relationship can grow you as much as a good one. I mean, especially when it comes to, like, romantic relationships, for example. I would say you learn more from every bad from every failed relationship than from every successful one. I would say every single fail you have makes you realize what you need from someone in the future. Here's a memorable little part of that. It's like, oh yeah, think about every time that you've broken up with someone and then you've gone with someone better. Oh yeah, they've been better, haven't they? There's been an improvement every single time. Most people, who are either happily married or in a long-term relationship aren't like, oh yeah, well this is kind of my third best relationship so far. There was that girl from high school that I peaked then and we've never gone past them. That's not a thing people say. Same with friends, I would say. Like, I don't ever miss my old friends. If I did, I could rekindle the relationship if I really wanted to. But it's like, oh yeah, there's a reason we did the friend version of breaking up or whatever. And yeah, I kind of wonder, like, it's interesting. Though with family, you just don't have the breakup mechanic. You don't have the, we're not going to talk to each other because this is unsuccessful. You just kind of go over anyway. And yeah, so I'm going to have to deal with that soon. I'm going to meet someone I haven't met before. I'll let you know on this channel how it was. And I'm always terrified because the channel, okay, so let me go for a few seconds of, like, okay, we've gone through Toy Cat's insecurities for a few seconds. I'm glad you all enjoyed that, or I hope you all enjoyed that. But now let's go through, like, the opposite of insecurities, I guess, because one of the things about me that you might not know, or maybe you do know, or maybe you're indifferent about, but yeah, one of the things about me is that I very strongly value the idea of anonymity. I'm really terrified of anyone knowing most personal details about me, because it can really only be used in negative ways. Like when even something as simple as, like, oh yeah, my gamer tag, it's quite public, it's ToyCat by the way. People send me messages. Okay, that's fine. Like, okay, I can ignore all. I do whatever with those. But then there's this expectation. A lot of people send me messages saying, "So when are you gonna get back to my Xbox messages?" Like, I've never said send me Xbox messages. People have just assumed that, like, oh yeah, it's okay to. And people with other YouTubers, it's become a big thing that, like, when YouTubers like put out their address when they're small YouTubers, then when they get bigger, someone goes back, they try and find the address as best they can. Then they show up at the house saying, "Hey, I'm a big fan. I drove 2 hours. You have to, sign my picture, give me an autograph, do whatever else. I'm your biggest fan." And it's like, I'm not so sure about this one. I'm not sure that this is a required thing. That is terrifying to me. People feeling like they have people who feel like I owe them something is terrifying to me in any, like, aspect. Like, even when strangers are like, "Hey, so I feel like you should give me some money because I noticed that you probably have money," and I probably... There's a lot of, like, terrifying, like, things with, like, you are obligated to give a thing to me because I have decided it. And so one of the things, one of the downsides of the channel doing so well recently, which I love, by the way, like, I think it's so cool, especially during live streams, we've met so many people who are, like-minded, who enjoy talking about the same stuff as we do. We can have these big philosophy / Minecraft survival streams, and there's actually an audience for that. That is insane to me. I love that beyond belief, and I wouldn't trade this for anything. But one of the very small downsides of some of the videos going so viral is, like, randomly people I know will, be randomly recognized for something like, oh yeah, one of my best friends, he's getting married, his best man watches my videos, and, like, that came up in a recent conversation. He's like, yeah, he said, I said you could talk to you at the wedding. It's like, yeah, it's cool. I'm glad that I'll be able to speak to the dude, but it's like, that's scary. Like, people knowing me is not a good thing I want. I would like one of my dreams in the world, like, maybe this is a European thing, maybe this is just me being a weird social introvert thing, but I would love the idea of being properly hidden from the entire world. You know, being able to properly be incognito is a dream of mine. It's what I like doing when I'm traveling. Like, no one knows me, no one cares. I'm never gonna run into someone I know or something like that. It's the beautiful dream. And so yeah, recently, like I've been spotted quite a few times. Like someone's just like, oh yeah, I spotted you here. Once I was even in the Netherlands doing things that people do in the Netherlands, and a guy's like, I saw you at Lidl's, and you know I was in Lidl's buying a ridiculous amount of snacks and probably being very loud and obnoxious or something. And it's like, oh man, yeah, that's a problem, right? That's a problem. It just so happened the other dude was there for the same reason, so it was all kind of fine. But then like, oh yeah, I got spotted in a Korean store in London, and the guy's like, oh yeah, were you in this store at this time with a girl? And it's like, darn you. It's scary because it means that like yeah, so there's always a chance that like that's a thing that can happen, and it's kind of the opposite of what I'm saying. Like it's kind of the same thing I'm saying here. We're like, oh yeah, it's a forced relationship. I really would like, again, there are lots of people who watch my videos who I would really like to get to know. If you're watching this one right now and you're a reasonable human being who's not overreacting to that, you're probably one of them. But the idea that I don't get to pick, that I don't get to be like, actually, I don't like your attitude, nah. That's something that I've always thought is like, that's a part of public life. Because you seem like a dick. If like someone likes you but you don't like them, that's a whole thing. But wouldn't it be more genuine if I was like, oh yeah, so you know, as much as I appreciate you being here, I don't like you, and you know, like I think honesty is more valuable than you know, like social. But yeah, politeness is good. Like you should always be polite in general. But I also think that honesty is just as important as politeness, if not more important. And that's a thing that isn't understood by like the world of culture or whatever. So if you meet me, come say hello. But if I want to leave, let me leave. That's all I want in the world. And yeah, if you happen to be my cousin and or my cousin's boyfriend, cousin's baby daddy, is that a thing? And you're watching this video, then don't worry, I'm talking about a different cousin. Their name is Smachel, which is definitely different to your name. There we go. I came up with a really good fake name, guys. We did it. We pulled it off. We did everything here. So yeah, that's a little bit of a terror of mine. Also, this is fun, but I've this is what we got so far. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. Should we add more spice? I think it definitely is really bland. Like I'm thinking maybe some lava or some nether warts or some. I think definitely some fences. Like maybe like a. Maybe we should have this be wider and be like a fence door thing. Also, I think just to like add some detail, like wherever we can get it, we should have something like, okay, we'll have, for instance, just like, oh yeah, here on the ground, just have a bunch of fences around, sorry, a bunch of stairs around a fence. Look at that. That's detail, that's texture, and then we can have like fences there maybe. Look at that. That looks, and then we could, I'm not even sure, like set the ground under the fence on fire. Can you do that? I don't think you can. But if we could have something different be under there, that'd be kind of fun because it's getting a little bit monocolored right here. Then we'll do the same on the other side. So roughly we did it in the middle of this one. Okay, over here, same block. We have a fence. Oh wait, I did that wrong. We have a fence over here, and we surround it by these. Do the exact same thing just to be like, yeah, look, we've got a textured floor. It's not just a floor and a walkway. It's also a place where things are on fire. And yeah, I think fire and lava stuff like that would definitely add a lot to the image. Also, I think some form of like with a skeleton skull, but made out of nether brick would be good at the top. So let me know what you think about all of those ideas. Again, this is something I really am just kind of freeballing as I'm going along, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Also, because these Let's Plays are kind of like an embodiment of what's going on in the Let's Play, one of the things that you might know actually, what's been going on in the Let's Play world, I should say, or my survival world, one of the things that a lot of people don't know is that I go back and forth over a bunch of projects at the same time, even when there's one as big as this, that I really do want to focus on, and I really should be focusing on. Even when there's one as big as a whole Nether Fortress conversion, which I'm totally going to get back to, don't worry. I should have put this away first, but this is how I end up with so much stuff in my inventory, by the way. But yeah, even when it's projects like that, they're like, okay, gotta get around to, really want to get around to. I also sometimes like, okay, let's work on something else, just for a little bit. So something that I really want to do, I just wanted to let you know about this, is I wanted to make a bunch of concrete powder, because I'm thinking of draining something, like whether it be an ocean monument, whether it be you know, like, you know, maybe just a bit of an ocean. Like, I want to do some draining, and I figured, like, okay, so we get some gravel, we get some sand, we get some white dye, maybe. Do I have some of that with me? I can find some white dye easily. What if I made concrete powder, and instead of using sand like I usually do for my draining projects, what if I use concrete powder, and then that way, when I remove the concrete powder, I end up with concrete. Like, I can do two things at once, basically, is what I'm saying there. So we turn all of this bone into bone meal, and now we can make 51 times 8 concrete powder. I don't know what that'd be, like 400. So we're gonna need about I don't even know how to do the maths on this one. But let's grab a bunch of sand. Let's grab a bunch of gravel. Like, let's just say entire stacks of both. And now we can go ahead and we can make some concrete powder, which I can then use for a draining project, which I can then later use for one of my end maps. Because one of the things you might not know is I still... Okay, look at this. White construction powder. And we can now make all of this. Look how great that was. Now we got a bunch of concrete powder, which I hope, again, I'm not sure about how water physics actually work in the current update with concrete powder. But I want to say, if you drop this into water... Okay, there's some water over there. I want to say it still works like sand, but then when it drops to the bottom, it becomes concrete. I'm hoping it doesn't happen the moment you drop something in there. So let's do the ultimate test of time here. Let's place some scaffolding, just like this. Then let's... oh, wait, a little bit out into the open. Then let's drop some concrete powder, and let's see what happens. Because again, I really love efficiencies. I love... Oh, it hits the surface, and it becomes solid there. That might be useful for a separate kind of thing, like making a walkway through an ocean. Again, there's ideas to work with here, because what I could do, hypothetically here, we'll do the same thing there, like, okay, we're going to place blocks from there, but you can hypothetically just make a pathway like this, through an ocean, and that's a cool new thing to do. Like, I don't know how or when I'd need to do that, but I feel like there's definitely some reason to want to. So yeah, this is something I want to work with. This is something I'm going to be making a lot of. I'm going to make a lot of concrete powder of all the colors, because I need concrete of all the colors anyway. Oh, items float in the current update. I always forget that. But I figured, like, you know, I need a lot of concrete powder. You know, I need a lot of concrete of each color anyway. Why not use it for a fun thing in between? And since I've got so much sand coming in from the desert, it's like, yeah, use sand, make concrete powder. Use concrete powder, make cool project. Use concrete from said project, make different project. That's how my brain works, and that's how that's why we jump so much and ADD all over the place during these Let's Play episodes. And yeah, I was going to say I hope it's something you enjoy. It's probably not something you do enjoy, but just so you know why some weeks we make so much progress, because we do get focused for something for like... I know, I've done maybe 12 hours of Fortress Destruction this week, so lots of time spent on that. But yeah, the reason for that is because, like, yeah, we got really focused on this thing, and we made a lot of progress. But yeah, most weeks we make a lot of progress on a lot of weird things, kind of combining. It's a strange place. Also, I had bones in there the whole time. I could have just used those. So, the more we know, the more we know. I hope you did all enjoy today's episode of the Minecraft Xbox updated... Oh, wait. Yeah, the Minecraft Xbox Update Adventures Let's Play. If you did all enjoy it, you can like this thing and let me know. You can share if you really liked it. And you can subscribe if you're around here with notifications turned on if you want to eventually see when the Nether Fortress project is complete. Again, these sorts of projects, they take some time. That is the unfortunate but natural fact of life. And yeah, whenever this project's complete, I'll post a video, I'll let you know. So I'll show the entire how many hours progress condensed into 30 minutes. I really enjoy making these big scale project videos, and I love the support I see from you as a result. And I just wanted to show you the update and what's going on with them, because I feel like, again, so many people love this survival Let's Play world as much as I do these days, and I figured it'd be kind of cool to use these videos as a way to, again, keep you updated as to how some of the other big projects that are going on here are going on slowly bit by bit. Anyway, thank you very much for watching today's video. You can like it if you did like it. I think I already said this actually, so I'm just going to say I've run out of food now. I'm going to go get some more and then get straight back to the Nether Fortress. Goodbye.